Hey, chat. Good evening. Good evening. It is Tuesday. Am I going to stream Clyde's piano recital? No, no, no. Sadly, no. I won't do that. I will not put Clyde in the spotlight like that. He's going to perform on his own terms. But he does have a midnight piano recital after this, so I will be making a drive into town to go do that for him. No, sorry, I forgot time work. Nope. No. Nope. Lost track of time tonight. No, when I fuck up, I'll admit I fuck up. Yeah, it seems Hassan Piker likes to shock his dog. Yeah. Apparently for him, his dog's a fucking prop, not an animal that actually is meant to enjoy life. But hey, guess what? Communists treat everything like property of the state. Like, it shouldn't be shocked. Shouldn't be shocked, really. He really shouldn't be. I mean, at least he's not killing his dog and dumping it in a mass grave. I mean, I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet. Although, having a pet like that, you can have electric call for is super bourgeois. So, I don't know, Hassan. I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying all communists are psychopaths, but all communists are psychopaths. So, can he wear the collar? Well, he'd probably like it too much. That sound would be like shocking the shit out of himself. Bet he won't like it. I bet he would. He's an ignorant animal. So, a quick trip into town for an 8-ball of piano recital. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Make sure to drink half a bottle before driving, Clyde. Of course. Katie said shot collars don't feel like much to humans. Yeah, and ultimately, a lot of dogs, just hearing a beep or a vibration will cause them to yip and be scared. And it doesn't have to be much, but who knows? Hassan might be retired and have the thing cranked up all the way, which he very well could. And that dog could be getting the shit shocked out of it. We just don't know. We don't know. But anyways, we'll let Hassan cope and seethe about that. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. I mean, so, yeah. Yeah, great Destiny stream earlier. Well, thank you. Yeah, Destiny seems to be really upset. Like, you're just so bad at your takes. Like, all right, then, like I said, he was going to win those things. He won those things, but even right now, he could get a dismissal on this case, and he's going to be out all his money. Everybody's going to know he's fucking around minors, like, and lost everything he built. So, if that's your idea of a win at this point, I guess. Really for him, the idea of a win should be whether or not he keeps his freedom because, buddy, Pixie is going to get a deposition there. The other Destiny. Oh, well, I don't talk about my cases. Sorry. Don't talk about them. So I appreciate you guys watching, but I don't like to comment on those. So please don't try to. Yeah. I understand it, but like I try to, guys, I'd rather you not talk about those while I'm around, and that's just for respect to my clients. So, Nani Moose says, wait, you're on time for once? Yes, you are on time. You are on time. I'll take your word over the pedo. No. Well, I mean, who can you trust in that life? So, guys, we are live tonight. We are live tonight. A little bit of a change up. We're live tonight on Kick. We're live tonight on Rumble. I got Rumble working. That was kind of what I was wasting time on. I don't know what the deal is, but Rumble finally worked. So Rumble's back up and running. I know for some reason, I know people like to Rumble, but it doesn't really do much. I mean, but yeah, Kick's up also. So Rumble and Kick tonight, along with YouTube. Philip says, sorry for our inattentive. Hockey's on. Well, it's only the preseason. But yes, the next 9 months, you're going to be gone. Did I get some sleep last night? Yes, I did. Not enough. Are we going to build a Tamiya tonight? No, we're going to go for a little while. This is not going to be a super long one, but we've got a lot of things to talk about. Peanuts, can we talk about the crazy person that had all the bombs at the Catholic Church, at the Catholic Cathedral? We'll work on that. Kale said, okay, we can talk about that later. All right. Well, guys, I set a promo and like nobody's even going over there to build a tower. But anyways, Phil has been a member for 6 months. Thank you for your support, Phil. Guys, Tayo Toys, you can find him on Twitter. Doing all is great. Well, it's been a little while, but I know it, the more trial stuff going on allows him to do the does his super cuts that are hilarioso. And guys, the thing we are going to be working on actually starting tomorrow is the Bianca. We're going to try to get started on here in a day. Well, actually, it depends. Is the Bianca Ellis trial. It's a trial here in Cleveland. If you guys remember, we covered it. She's the lady who went to Goodwill and like stole a knife from Goodwill and walked across the parking lot to the grocery store and then followed out a lady into the parking lot and stabbed the lady and stabbed her son to death. It's a capital murder case. They're trying it. It's actually being televised. So we're probably going to watch that. And they just did day 1 today. So we'll probably start that up with day 2 tomorrow or day 1 tomorrow and try to catch up. Katie said Goodwill sells knives. Well, this one did. This one did. But you guys, remember, we went over this. She stole the knife and she's walking around through the store. She's dragging the knife along the wall, and then she walks into the grocery store and is just walking around with it. And then she follows a lady and her son out and killed them. So are they actually going to try her? Yes, they are. I just, I hadn't really focused on it because she had been in the mental hospital. She has been deemed competent. And yes, they're obviously going to try not guilty by reason of insanity, but the trial has started today. I thought they were going to go for another couple of days with jury selection, but I think like the 3 days they've done so far is all they're going to do. Oh, Court TV butcher the trial. Well, I don't know what we could do about that, guys. We're going to have to suffer with that. Although I think the local Cleveland stations may have done it right. Let's see here. I'm going to double check real quick. Let me see here. Let me see here. So we'll get to that. So there's there. The Greens did it. Yes. I see knives all the time wrapped in speed tape. Well, yeah, this guy's happened here in Cleveland, Ohio. That's why we're going to probably watch a lot of there. So, and then real quick, Chugi show. We're going to catch up here and then we'll get started. For 490, it says late because he had to tell Clyde Andrea posting pics of kittens isn't grounds to sue for emotional distress because he thinks they steal the spotlight from him. It is true. And it's funny how Andrea is like, I'm not really a cat person. And by now she's like, look, here they all are. Yes, thank you, Chugi. Demon's Wrath for 9 months. Thank you for the support. Says N. Super Wiener, it's been a member for 19 months, says I. And then Iman Razu, it's been a member for 17 months, says G. Tia Nena, it's been a member for 18 months, says G. Scott, who's been a member for 10 months, says E. Amateur Iconoclast, who's been a member for 21 months. And all of you guys, thank you for your support. Says R. Thank you, guys. That is a very nice tower. That is a beautiful tower. And then Erica for 199 says I. And I understand, but we were doing it all. We had a color coordinated tower. Thank you, Erica. Bella has re-upped. Thank you, Bella, for re-upping. I appreciate it. And then Katie's been a member for 19 months. You guys, seriously, it's like it's all just started yesterday. Also says R. R. Yar. Oh, thank you, guys. Thank you so much. All right, let's get started. We're going to be talking about Mark Sanchez. You guys know Mark Sanchez. He played for USC back in the day. Played for a couple of teams in the National Football League. Dun 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 dun. He played for the NFL for quite a few years. He played for the Jets as one of the teams. He also, what else did he play for? What is this? I'll save that for later. But anyways, he played for the New York Jets. Played for 10 years. Who else did he play for? He played for the Eagles. He played for the Broncos, the Cowboys, Bears, and the Redskins. Wasn't really like that impressive. Didn't really get like a whole lot of never won a Super Bowl, nothing like that, nothing fancy, I mean, he wasn't bad, but he wasn't like the best either. So, I mean, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, certainly he's about as good as anybody the Browns would have ever had. Wasn't he Reggie Bush's quarterback at USC? I think so. I don't remember. Yes, he's the butt fumbler. Well, yeah, and we could show that video, but the NFL would be like, oh, we're taking that down. But like any good NFL. Oh, is Matt Leinart? Okay. I don't really. Anyway, what did Sanchez do after his NFL career? Well, he went and did announcing. And currently he's announcer for Fox Sports. And he does football, he does the stuff for the NFL on Fox. And he is there talking and broadcasting at games. If you guys have never seen him before, this is a picture of Mark now, and this is a picture of what he used to be. So this is him back in the day when he was on the JETS, Jets. Is he still an announcer currently? Yes, he is. Yes. And then here's him now. This is him nowadays. Oh, yes, he's still an announcer. We're going to get to all that. Well, they fired him, yes, but at the time all this happened, he was an announcer. So what happened? What happened? Well, we have some basic information here. So we'll start off with this from the New York Post. They have the video, and I haven't been able to find it anywhere else. This is Mark Sanchez stumbling around on Saturday, basically Friday night, Saturday morning in Indianapolis, all fucked up. And this is how the story starts, guys. This is how our story starts. He got stabbed after he got in a fight with somebody. And he's all cut up and bloody. I mean, look at his shirt. You can see that's blood right there. And this is just, again, it coming back through without any stuff on the screen. You could tell he got injured. And this is him coming back through. And this is what we have him. They loop it through a couple of times. So that is where we start. That is where we start with things. So what happened? He took some injuries himself. Adam says, I cannot see that. It's grayscale. I'm so sorry. Yeah. So what happened here? Well, as things have gone on, we find out a couple of things. Here. So we learn about this guy named Perry Toll. And this is Perry Toll. Perry Toll is a guy who lives in, he's a driver. He was driving a grease collection truck. And Perry Toll was found and was taken to the hospital with all kinds of cuts and wounds on himself. And here he is. This is Perry Toll. This is the guy. Shows up at the hospital all cut up. And this is him. So there you go. This is the other guy to the equation. Yeah, he got a nice big old Mark Sanchez with a nice old autograph on his face. with that. So what happens from here? Well, we don't know. We don't know ultimately what happened. But the police have pieced some things together. And we have some basic ideas. And why do we have these basic ideas? Well, it's because ultimately we have a charging document. And this charging document is included with a affidavit of probable cause that we have. So, and this was filed yesterday on the 6th. And that's the thing, the face is a known bleeder. That's right, chat. But you get bleeding. This is mainly this just came in for me. I ordered new stuff, but make sure you have that first aid on you. So this is an affidavit here, and this kind of explains what's going on and what their theories are to what's happening. So it says on October 4th at about 12:35 in the morning, Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department officers were dispatched to Washington Street on a report of a person being shot. When they arrived at the Lowell Miller's Eatery and Pub, they came in contact with a guy later identified as Mark Sanchez with several stab wounds to his upper right torso area. So already, guys, we're getting into this, and somebody got hurt. Mark Sanchez already got injuries on him. He's already got injuries. Already. Hold on here, guys. The problem is, I don't know why this isn't sticking and letting me go at the same time. But anyways, they found a second person located in the alley nearby on Senate Street. Later identified as PT, Perry told had a laceration in his cheek. So what did they do? Well, they took Mark to Ashkenazi hospital in critical condition, and they took the other guy to Methodist Hospital. They say a detective for aggravated assaults, meaning like felony assaults, was requested and showed up. And they then went through and they started investigating, okay, well, how did these guys get here and what happened? So they sent the one detective to the hospital to check on Mark Sanchez. From there, they went to Mark Sanchez to get a statement. And they asked Mr. Sanchez what happened, and he said all he remembered was grabbing for a window. Okay. Sanchez said he did not know who did this to him or where it happened. Well, we're going to get to why. We're going to get to why here after a bit. So they stayed on other detectives stayed on the scene, and they were advised that the two hotels on either side of the alley where the incident had surveillance video. And one of them was the Westin Hotel and the Indianapolis Marriott. And they went to review the video at the first hotel, but it was poor. As they were leaving, a guy said he had to go, and he was parked in the alleyway. He was identified as BB. Hold on one second. Sorry, guys. I was just making sure 2.0 is okay. He stayed at the location picking up his kid when he saw a larger male wearing a black shirt and another male that was a truck driver interacting. He at first thought they were friends and didn't pay attention. He then thought it was odd because the two men were using their cell phones to record each other. Which, yeah, obviously these guys are in a fight. Not really, it makes sense. He says the two men went out the other side of his view to the truck. Then, the truck driver tumbled over to the opposite side curb with the guy in the black shirt standing over him. He thought they might have wrestled. And he says, then the guy in the black shirt ran northbound and the truck driver stayed with the truck. He didn't see anything further, but assumed it was kind of serious because police started to show up. So they relayed all this information on, and they then were able to get a search warrant to collect Mark Sanchez's phone and clothes. Even though Mark Sanchez hasn't said anything, that's enough to get a warrant. It's enough to get a warrant. So the warrant was granted under the case number, and they talk about where you could find it. And this is, because you have to file the court and you have to apply for it. They collected the item, sent a chain of custody, and transported it back to the aggravated assault officer, where they later took custody and placed it in the property room because they're going to open up his phone. So what did they find further? They then reviewed the video. The videos. When can we get the body cam? I don't know. Eventually, it's going to get leaked out. Don't worry. Now, from here, what all happened? So they went to the other one, which had better cameras. They saw somebody jogging northbound in the alley and ran towards a large box truck that's backed up to the loading docks. He goes behind the truck and reappears. And then later on, he's out of view for a little while. He then reappears heading southbound, approaches the delivery truck again, and goes behind it before reappearing. It should be noted that Perry Toll is an employee with a company that specializes in commercial cooking oil recycling and disposal. He was backed into the loading dock area performing his job when he encountered Mark Sanchez. So this guy's minding his own fucking business, working his job. What do they see on camera? He approaches the door and opens it. It began a conversation with Perry. Sanchez and Perry stand by the driver's door for a few minutes, and then Perry walks out towards the security office doors. At the time he's out of view, Sanchez is standing near the truck. Moments later, Perry Toll reappears and walks towards the passenger side of the truck, and Mark Sanchez follows him. Perry Toll is then seen walking back around to the driver's side, and Sanchez is right behind him. The two appear to have an interaction at the driver's side door, and then Toll walks back toward the front of the truck. Sanchez is following again, and Toll is seen walking backwards away from Sanchez. So it sounds like everywhere this guy goes, Mark Sanchez is following him along. And Mark Sanchez won't leave him alone. Why? Why is Mark Sanchez following this guy? Why are they doing this? Why is Mark Sanchez following this guy around? And then ultimately, Perry Toll darts toward the driver's door again, which sounds like he's trying to get away. Sanchez is seen running after Perry Toll. In the video, he shows him grabbing and throwing Perry Toll towards the wall of the Westin. It appears the two men are fighting between the large green dumpster and the truck. The fight continues against the dumpster. The two men continue fighting and are now moving towards the middle of the alley. Sanchez is seen throwing Perry Toll to the ground just as a car passes. Toll stands up from the ground as Sanchez is standing there for a brief moment before turning and running northbound. This doesn't look very good so far, does it, guys? Oh, man. Now, what happened? Well, Perry Toll's statement closely matches the video. And they said that Mark Sanchez opened the door and then he, got out of the truck. Never get out of the boat. If some crazy guy is like, somebody opens your truck, do not get the fuck out of your truck. Do not get out of your truck. Why would you get out of your car? Never get out of the boat unless you're ready to go all the way. So they had a conversation, and Sanchez had told Toll that he could not be there and that he had spoken to the manager of the hotel. Now, this is the problem. We saw that picture of Perry Toll, right? This is an old-looking dude, right? It's an old-looking guy. Well, here's where you know this guy's really old. He did not have his hearing aids in. So it's an old guy because his truck is very loud when he's exchanging the frying oil for the hotel. So he had to lean in close. When he leaned in, Mark Sanchez smelled of alcohol and his speech was slurred. Not really surprised. A drunk guy's fucking with people. He stated he was confused and he needed to contact his manager to find out what was going on. He described Sanchez, whom he did not recognize, as well-dressed and groomed, so he assumed he could be the manager of the hotel. Sanchez then climbed up in the cab and leaned over the driver's seat and looked inwards between the seats. Perry told Mark he was not allowed in the company vehicle, and Sanchez came down. Sanchez kept repeating he had spoken to a manager, and they did not want Perry told to do that, replace the fry oil. Sanchez tried again to get into the truck, and Toll said he couldn't get in. Toll said he knew that at this time he had a problem. Toll tried to get his cell phone, and Sanchez blocked him for trying to call his manager. So it just sounds like Mark Sanchez was blackout drunk and acting like a fucking dickhead already. Toll then walked around the front of the truck, and Sanchez followed him. Well, and you guys, this is an old guy. It's an old guy versus a dude who's 30 years old, a former NFL quarterback. Yeah, he's going to beat the shit out of a sober guy. He's really going to fucking hurt him. Yeah, this is a thing here. So he walked around to the front of the truck, and Mark followed him, but stood near the front of the truck. Toll seen walking westbound off camera to the opposite loading dock, and he stated he knew that entry point was a security office, so he's attempting to flag down one of the officers to help him with Sanchez. He then walked towards the passenger side, and Mark Sanchez followed him. Toll attempted to get in the passenger side of the truck, but was blocked by Mark Sanchez. Toll walked around the driver's side and attempted to get his cell phone, but Sanchez shoved him back. Toll realized things had escalated and he was now in physical danger, so he reached in his pocket and grabbed his pepper spray and maced Mark Sanchez in the face. Toll said the pepper spray appeared to have an effect on Sanchez for a moment, but Sanchez wiped his face again and started advancing towards Perry Toll. Now, guys, this is where you get to the idea of, could you use deadly force here? Yes. Yes. This is an old guy. He's got hearing aids in. We saw this picture. This dude is old. I think I saw something saying this guy was in his 60s. This guy's in his 60s versus, yeah. Okay, great. He's 69. Even worse. If you're 69, you fall, break your hip, you die from the injuries. He's 5'8", is 165. I mean, there you go. Versus Mark Sanchez. There's a massive disparity of force. A massive disparity of force here between these guys. If he had a gun and shot him, I'd say not guilty all day long. Not guilty all day long. And yes, if somebody's really upset and aggravated, mace will not stop them. He thought this guy's going to kill me, and he would have a reasonable, bona fide belief that he's facing serious bodily injury or imminent death. So he pulled out his knife and went at Sanchez, which valid. This is a valid use of force. I have no problem with him pulling out his knife at this point. And struck him 2 or 3 times with a knife. Yeah. Yeah, I think it 100% makes sense. He said he found him, after that, he struck him 2 or 3 times. Toll said he found himself flying back into the dumpster and falling into the pallets. While he was on the ground, he was not aware what Sanchez was doing to him, whether he was punching or otherwise striking him. While he was on the ground, he could only see the feet of Sanchez coming at him, making him realize he was in a life or death situation. Remember, guys, a shod foot, a foot with a shoe on it, traditionally a boot, can also be a deadly weapon. Getting kicked can fucking kill you. Somehow he got to his feet, and when Sanchez came at Toll, Toll again stabbed Sanchez the last time. Next thing Toll knew, Sanchez looked at him with a lot of shock. He slowly turned around and he took off north. He suffered a cheek laceration penetrating all the way through his left cheek. When he was asked to rate his skate on a scale of 1 to 10, he said a 10. So they went ahead and searched the area. They took photos. They collected evidence. A search warrant was applied for the box truck and for the collection of the knife that was on the driver's seat. Sanchez was placed under arrest for battery, unlawful entry to a motor vehicle, and public intoxication, which those make sense. But in the meantime, for Mark Sanchez, there was a motion to amend the information, meaning they went ahead and amended what's going on here. So they want to amend it, and they added battery resulting in serious bodily injury, which means it's a felony. So what happened? And what does that actually mean right here? So here's what he's been charged with. Battery result in bodily injury, so misdemeanor assault. Unauthorized entry of a motor vehicle. You're not allowed just to enter cars. A Class B misdemeanor. Public intoxication, a Class B misdemeanor. And then battery resulting in serious bodily injury. A level 5 felony. Well, what does all that mean? That doesn't mean nothing to me or you, does it? No. So what's a level 5 felony? Well, first of all, we got to go to the Indiana codes that are out there, and the 2024 Indiana code. They talk about what's, a Class C felony, a level 5 felony. So here you go. A person who commits a level 5 felony for a crime committed after June 30th, 2014 Shall be in prison for a fixed term, meaning it's a mandatory right now, a minimum of 1 and then between 1 and 6 years, with the advisory sentence being the average and recommended sentence being 3 years, and also a possible $10,000 fine. Woo! Whoa! Chili con artist says all he got was a level 5 felony. I mean, that's how they did in Indiana. I mean, certainly if this is Ohio, he'd be looking at a minimum of 2 to 8 years in prison. But you know, that's the state, and that's how they charged it. So for now, yes, that is what he's looking at. It's what he's looking at. Like, this is serious fucking business. And this is just an example of you get drunk and you're having a time and you get a little carried away, and now you're possibly going to prison for it. I'm sure he doesn't remember one bit of that. I'm sure he doesn't remember one bit of that. I'm sure he was blackout drunk. You know, you're blackout drunk, and when you come to, you're being accused of you're being accused of things. You're like, I don't remember any of that. Just think about that. Chili the con artist says in Ohio, a 5th-degree felony is the least serious. Yes, but every state's different. In New York, you have like A, B, and C, and then you have like 1, 2, and 3. Like, every state does it differently. But yes, in Ohio, this would be a 2nd-degree felony at minimum. So it's just when you think about it. Mark Sanchez is being charged. And why is the other guy not being charged? It's clear he wasn't the aggressor. This guy was just working his job, and he got attacked by a drunk guy. This guy's a working stiff, working his job in the middle of the fucking night, and some drunk asshole starts accosting him. I mean, I don't feel bad for Mark Sanchez here. Now, what's going to happen? Well, at some point, what do you do for people? People have to defend themselves. And this guy did nothing wrong. I know some people are saying, well, is he going to get charged? No, the victim's not going to get charged. Guy was working, minding his own business. Like, he's 100% safe. Antoinette Kilpatrick is saying he hired a very pricey lawyer. I'm sure he did. So lots of motions will be filed. Well, there's going to be motions filed anyway. Delay, and then it will get pled down. I don't know about that. This is kind of one of those deals where you've gone from like 0 to like 100. And I don't think he jumped into the deep end of pool super fast. I think he's in trouble. I don't think he walks away from this as easy as you think. I don't think you walk away from this as easily as you think. Is he going to go to prison and make license plates? I don't think so. But it's not going to look good for him. It's not going to look good for him. So, and even though the fact he's taken a bunch of stab wounds, like, oh well. So it's interesting to see how this is set up for Mark Sanchez. He's going to have a bad day. And from here, it's only going to escalate further. Let's see here. Schroeder's saying he can't settle out, can he? Well, I mean, it's up to the prosecutor. If the prosecutor wants to make an offer, he can, accept it or negotiate or try to negotiate for him. But remember, the prosecutor has no obligation to accept your plea offer. I'm in a case right now where we made a plea offer and the prosecutor's like, nope, don't want that. I said, how low can you go? He's like, and he told me what his bottom line was, and that's well outside of what we want or we're willing to agree to. So, yeah, the prosecutor has no obligation to do this. So, I bet he gets time. I don't know. I don't know if he's going to get time. I can see him doing a lot of jail time, but I don't know if he'll get prison time. It's going to be hard to rebut the video evidence. Well, it doesn't matter. Why are you out? Like, here's the problem for Mark Sanchez, whatever they can do. A jury is going to want to know, why are you fucking around on the back of a loading dock in a hotel fucking with a guy doing his job? You've already got that. Like, that's strike one against you. You're not where you're supposed to be, and you're fucking with a guy who didn't hurt nobody. And then all of a sudden, this guy's all fucked up. Why did you fuck him up? How did this guy slice his cheek open? I mean, maybe he got caught in a nail or hit the corner of a dumpster or, something sharp. I mean, it's a dark alleyway. There's going to be sharp shit everywhere. He's going to be sharp shit everywhere. Oh, you meant the civil suit settlement? Well, yeah, that's going to happen. We're going to get to that next. Shredder says the judge can also reject a plea offer. He could reject a plea offer in a criminal case, but he can't reject a settlement. If parties in a civil suit settle, that's it. But yes, a judge could reject a plea deal. I mean, it does happen every once in a while. Let's see here. Dumpsters have sharp edges. I mean, everything has sharp edges in a dark alleyway. His only hope is a medical excuse. Not really. That's the problem, RK. Voluntary intoxication is not a defense. He voluntarily consumed alcohol. Now, could he get away with it where if he was, what if he was taking medications? It depends on what medication he's taking. If he's taking like Xanax and Prozac and all kinds of shit you're not supposed to take while you're drinking, it's probably not going to work well for him. But let's say, for example, he wasn't feeling good and his head hurt, so he took a Tylenol. And he drank some alcohol along with that. And for some reason, the way his body and Tylenol react, it's never happened before, caused him to get all loopy-doopy. Then he might be able to argue, I didn't know what was wrong. I'm sorry, Judge. Please have mercy on me. And the court might. But otherwise, generally speaking, voluntary intoxication is not a valid defense. You willingly chose to get drunk, and you would now have to suffer the risk. Because if that was ever a possible defense, there'd never be DUI because every drunk driver could say, well, I didn't know this was going to happen. So he would have to have unique circumstances to prove some sort of medical theory. But I don't think that's going to happen here because it doesn't sound like that was the case. How damning would the security footage be for release? Oh, I bet it's really fucking bad. I bet it's bad as hell. Based on what the cops say, the victim was able to verify the whole story. So it sounds like it caught the whole thing. HIV1 says the judge can reject class action settlements. Yeah, but that's about the only thing it can do. And it's not really what we're talking about here. Let me see here. I have a feeling he accidentally knifed himself during defense. I'm sure he could have. Flailing away with that knife, stabbing and, cut yourself. I mean, that easily could have happened something there. It could have happened. So what if the Tylenol made him temporarily autistic? I wasn't even thinking about that at the time, but yes. Yeah. He's covering a Colts-Raiders game. Well, on the plus side, this old guy's going to have a nice retirement because Mark Sanchez is paying for it. And what's Mark Sanchez's net worth? Mark Sanchez's net worth. His net worth is... he has a net worth of about $40 million. He has about $40 million in net worth. There we go. He's making a couple mil a year. So yeah, he's gonna. Yeah, this guy won the lottery. He won the lawsuit lottery. Let's see here. They said the one camera was so trash they decided to check the other. Yeah, that was the thing. Building A security camera was really bad. So like, oh, well, that sucks. And the alleyway, the other side, building B, was like, boop, you could see the whole thing. So it was really good. Let's see here. Pseudo Start says they say the camera's trash. That's by where I eat after class. I bet there's no good video. Why do you eat in a? Do you eat in the alleyway, sir? I eat my lunch in the dumpster behind the Westin. I mean, that's one way. Like you can get brunch every day is if you hop in the garbage can right away. Yes, he's drunk. He's stabbed. He's unemployed. Oh. Yeah, CTE is real, Summer D. I have a friend who died, ex-NFL player. He had a drinking problem. Just thought, I mean, that's like maybe the one thing he's gonna do. But once again, this is Mark Sanchez. He's not. There's gonna be some idea that, well, you knew about this, then why are you running around fucking drinking alcohol? Like, if you know your brain is fried and like critically and terminally, basically eating itself away, then why are you out drinking alcohol at all? That seems very irresponsible. So he's got to be very careful because it's still if you know you're going to have a result. So, for example, instead of like Tylenol or Benadryl, you drink some alcohol and it caused you to go loopy. Nobody would have ever thought that. But let's say you have a freaking big old bottle of Perks, okay? Go to the doctor and he's like, here's some Perks, buddy. Go buck wild with these. What are these right here? Okay. Some Perks. You take some Perks and you pop one in and you guzzle. Take a couple of swigs of that good stuff. The idea that you can't drink and do pills, it's pretty obvious. So the idea he'd pull a dark side Phil and go, well, I did nothing wrong. There was nothing I could do. No, you knew what you could do. Shouldn't have done it. It's a pill stream, yes. Oh, yeah, but they don't know CT unless they look later. Well, they really don't know CT until they scan your brain after you die. So I don't think it's going to work for him that way. Don't take those pills from the corner demon. Yeah, well, Coffin Deffer just confirmed that Mark Sanchez is a quarterback. Yes. But that's the thing, guys. Even if you have CT, you still got to be able to explain why you did what you did. And that's not going to help. It's not going to help. And people just don't like, some working stiff getting hassled by some drunk asshole. So that's really what it's going to look like at the end of the day. Whoa, do they dissect the brain? I mean, yeah, they do sometimes. Yes. Yes. Benjamin Lewis says, what would you settle for? I mean, it all depends. Like, you mean if I was attacked by Mark Sanchez? I mean, a ton. I'd be like, 5 to 10 mil. I'd see if he'd settle. So, yeah, about Tree Fitty. Provides his defense by claiming CT. Yeah, providing they do it, but even then, is it still going to be recognized? Because remember, Indiana may not do by mental disease or defect. I don't think Indiana does. It's just insanity or no insanity. That might be a mitigating factor. Hold on here. Pseudo Snark, you're in the chat. Do they do that in Indiana? Not guilty by disease or mental defect. They don't. I don't think they allow that there. It's just not guilty by reason of insanity. So I think he's fucked. It's going to be more of a. He's going to be more allowed to mitigate himself at that point. So it's not a bad idea, but like I said, he's still got a very, very long way to go. It's a tough hill to climb. I think, it's going to be a very tough hill to climb. And then real quick, Dopamine Octopus for 15 months says, only the Sanchez collects grease in this town. Yes. It's like the Simpsons, collecting all of it. Then Pseudo Snark for $20. Thank you, by the way. It's good to see you, man. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Says, what if the victim's attorney suing settles with Mark? No contact order, but a victim's attorney reaches out. Attorneys are not bound by the no contact order. So that doesn't trigger them. So, for example, if I'm defending, Mickey Mouse and he's accused of beating up Minnie Mouse and there's a no contact order, I'm allowed to contact Minnie. Now, I'm not supposed to pass messages, but For example, if I want to start questioning Minnie about what she told the police and what happened, I'm allowed to contact her. That doesn't trigger a violation for Mickey. So I'm allowed to contact the victim. I'm allowed to contact other parties. So Mark Sanchez's attorney contacting the victim's attorney doesn't count as a violation. The victim's attorney contacting Mark Sanchez's attorney doesn't count as a violation either. You're allowed to do that. You are allowed. This is a good question. You are allowed to engage like that, but that's a very limited way you could do it. It's a very limited way you could do it. Let me see here. Chowder saying, I'm guessing no jail. But if it stays level 5 and some jail time, if it's a level 3 felony, okay, I'll take your word for it. I don't really know about Indiana and sentencing, but I think he's not walking away without any incarceration. It's probably just local incarceration. I mean, you don't get to fucking do what he did, and it's no big deal. It's no big deal. CTE is also called punch drunk syndrome for a reason, sure. And once again, like I said, this is Mark Sanchez, not a guy who played for like 2 weeks on a practice team. The idea he doesn't know about that or has a concern about it, I mean, it's going to look bad because he ends up getting blackout drunk. And once again, if you know you have a medical condition that makes you susceptible, you now have notice you shouldn't be getting blackout drunk. Say Pseudo Snark says 5 million settled civil suit, no cooperation in the criminal case. Maybe you can't contract out like you refuse to cooperate with the police, because remember, if I'm the prosecutor and I want to prosecute Mark Sanchez, guess what Perry Toll's getting? He's going to get a subpoena, and that's a court order. He has to appear. I mean, you have to be careful at that point, because you'd be then encouraging somebody to like defy court orders or go into court and refuse to testify. That would not be a good idea at all. That would not be a good idea at all. He's just going to have to fucking settle. And, you did the fucking time. Like, this is it. Like, no. Mark Sanchez is just going to fucking suffer. He's going to have to take it. And there's nothing he can do about it. This is all his fault. This is all his fault. If he didn't want this to happen, shouldn't have got fucking drunk. Shouldn't have gotten drunk. Minnie was giving all that stuff out to all of them Disney guys. I'm sure she was. How do you think she got her job? Let's see here. Let me see. This is if you refuse to testify in the criminal trial, that would look very bad for your civil suit. Yeah, but if you've already settled out, it's kind of over then. But even then, like I said, you can't do that. I understand what you guys are thinking, and it's an interesting thought process, but I would tell you that's not something you ever wanted. I would never encourage a client in that situation. That just screams that's going to end poorly. So we would not do that. At the Martin Law Office, we don't engage in such hijinks. Don Pillette is saying, I guess he won't appear with Colin Cowherd anymore. Well, that'll be rough. That'll be rough. Funny stuff. Yes, or a sub penis, as Daryl Brooks would say. Yes. That was a good old Daryl Brooks would say. JD Buck says, we named our state after a fictitious archaeologist. What? We're going to cover the Corey Richins update. We need to get caught up on Corey Richins, but yes, at some point we need to. Like I said, we're going to start the Bianca Ellis trial and see how far we can get into that. Remember, it's a pretty clear-cut case. She stabbed this kid and murdered him. But we're going to see how this goes there. Oh, Tachyon Black says Indiana Jones, Sean. Okay, yeah. Well, the dog was named Indiana, not him. Exactly, Indiana's a dog. Pseudo Snark says, do a civil suits just pen until criminal cases close? Yes, courts will push that off because you're not going to be able to do anything. And by the time you get done with a criminal case, you can complete discovery, and then the guy could testify at that point. Then you have even more pressure to settle civil. It's not even that you have more pressure to settle. If the guy gets convicted and goes to prison, it makes it easier. But Mark Sanchez may just settle right away, and it might be his best idea. Indiana was George Lucas's Malamute. Oh, that's like the thing that's the husky dog. Bianca Ellis's trial was unwatchable with only a few minute selections of testimony here and there. Oh no. Oh no. That's not going to be good. But yeah, if Bianca Ellis's trial is turned into a disaster, we'll probably look into Corey Richens, Sweet Tooth. Because we really haven't done a whole lot with that one. She's the one who murdered her husband and wrote a book, and they used the book against her. So that could easily be the case. Stephen Cooper's been a member for $5, says the victim did say he'd do anything not to have to work again. Well, that happens. That happens, man. You got to be careful. Got to be careful. And then Spud Gun for £5 sterling. The King Sterling says, "What does it get?" Sanchez got CTE from running into that Brandon Moore guy's ass. Yes, there are some massive problems in the Corey Richards case regarding Brady issues right now. And Brian Walsh is not going to trial anytime soon. Yeah, apparently he's not competent right now. So, yes. Kel says the inspiration for Chewbacca. Really? Did not know that. Did not know that. Blue Eyed Slim is saying, any benefit to Sanchez pleading no contest? No, there's no benefit. Is he going to play dumb and plead not guilty? Nobody should plead out like on a charge like this. You never plead out at your arraignment. That would be highly foolish. It's assumed you're going to plead not guilty, and then we'll go to court and work on it. Like, that makes sense. You don't just show up and go like, yeah, I guess. No, that's stupid. That's stupid. That would be an awful way to do it. There's no benefit to pleading out right now. And if you're going to do this with the idea that you're entering a plea of no contest, and you're going to let the court make a decision, and the judge will just read through the complaint, and the, probable cause and the complaint and say, yeah, I don't think you did it, Mr. Sanchez, not guilty. Like, hold on, because I've got this now. I've got this as a, prop. Judge is going to read through it and go, not guilty. Or hold on, not guilty. Like, no, that's not happening. That's not happening. That's not happening. Oh, Pseudostar brings up a great point. You've got to plea and admit guilt or go to trial. There's no contest there. And it says nolo, meaning nolo contendere. There's no contest. How is that legal? I didn't know that. I don't know if that could be. I don't know if that's legal or not. That idea gets stuck in my head in law school. Okay. Interesting. Benjamin Lewis says no contest for speeding tickets that you want leniency on. I will tell you more than once when I was in the public defender's office in Toledo, especially if the police arrested some homeless guy, or they, a lot of times with them when they charge them with disorderly or obstructing, or just if you could tell that like a certain officer writes a real shitty complaint, you would tell your guy, plead no contest. Judge reads it and says, no crime's been committed here based on, we're entering a plea of no contest saying we're not contesting what's in that complaint, Judge, and we'll consent to you doing whatever you do. Judge will read it and go, oh, not guilty. No crime has been committed here based on the complaint. So there are ways you can do it, but you would generally have to be very careful about it. You generally have to be very careful. Let's see. State Supreme Court said so. Well, that's fair enough. If they say so, they say so. Remember, guys, every state is different. And that's neat. I didn't know that. I learned something today. But yes, no contest is for speeding tickets. Yeah. Well, when I was in law school, I got in a car accident and I got a ticket for, I had a green light and I turned left and I got into an accident. And I showed up in court and I walked up and I said, Your Honor, I plead no contest. Consent to a finding guilt, waive reading. I said, all the shit I knew from the public defender's office and the prosecutor's office that, I entered plea no contest, consent to a finding guilt, waive reading, called circumstance and explanation, and asked to be heard in mitigation. And the judge is like, he's kind of like, fuck, that. And he's like, all right, well, yeah, Mr. Martin, I find you guilty. Here's your fine. Boop, boop, done. And he's like, was there insurance? Yep. Did the insurance pay? Yep. I said I have proof of that. And I showed it to the court. And he's like, all right, insurance is paid. Insurance paid out. You're all good. I was leaving, I was walking out of the courtroom, and the next guy walks up for the traffic docket, and he's like, Judge, like, what do you want to plead? He's like, I want to do what that guy just did. Judge is like, you mean no contest? He's like, yeah, that. I was like, all right. It's kind of funny. I'm sure they all pled no contest that day. DUIs used to be pled no contest in the olden days. Some of them, yeah. Yeah. Just file a Frank's motion and the case settles itself, yes. Tachyon Black says no contest is also for challenging unconstitutional laws. Generally, no. You're going to have to kind of go all the way with those. Is typically how that goes. If you run a red light you thought was yellow, you could plead no contest. You could run a red light you thought was red and plead no contest. If you could plead no contest, you should always use no contest because it generally cannot be used against you in a civil proceeding. So, let's see here. Coke Fairy says, you seem to have not good looking cars. I mean, that was like 15 years ago now. So, Sean plead on a DEI. Yeah. Oh, okay. So Pseudosnark is a lawsuit. He says, a judge may not accept a plea of guilty when the defendant pleads guilty and maintains his innocence at the same time. Well, you're not pleading innocent. I would argue you're not technically. It's reversible error. Okay. So Patrick Allen says, I thought no contest was just basically, fuck you, I might have done it, but you can't prove it. No contest is saying, Your Honor, I'm not saying I did it, but I'm also not saying that complaint is bullshit. You're saying everything on that charging document is correct, Judge. I'm not saying I did it. So it's kind of like a half-assed answer. It's a half-assed answer. Blue Eyed Sim says, my evidence is showing all evidence points to him being guilty as hell. So how would he plead out at an arraignment? You mean, like, are you saying why? Well, think about it like this. Like, if you go in and shot up a school, you're not going to be allowed to plea out that day. You're not allowed to do that. Okay. You never plea out at your arraignments. I don't care what the chart, like, unless it's speeding or something, generally, no, you're going to have pre-trials to work on it. So that's the biggest thing you're looking at here. Tim is saying no contest is proven, is agreeing the state can prove no, it's not, because in Ohio it's not. If I enter a plea of no contest and the state's complaint is deficient, I'm saying, Your Honor, I'm not contesting the facts of the complaint. And the judge can look at it and go, yeah, you're not guilty. I acquit you. I'm not agreeing to anything. I'm saying what's up there is, I'm saying it's true, but I'm not saying I did it. That's all you're saying. Now, every state might be different, but at least the way I understand it and the way we do no contest in Ohio, it's a very specific thing. So what ends up happening in arraignment if you say guilty? Do they just mark you as not guilty and move you along? Well, if you tried to say guilty, like if Mark Sanchez comes in and tries to plead guilty, I'm sure the judge, like, they would stop and be like, no, you can't do that. Depending on what type of court you're in, like if it's a municipal court or a misdemeanor court, and you're coming in pleading to, you're pleading out, like you've been charged with murder and you're in misdemeanor court. You can't come in and plead to murder. The court's like, I can't accept that. Now, could they use that? Could they use that as an admission against later on? Probably. They probably could do that. Afton is saying, what's the difference between no contest and an Alford plea? An Alford plea is different. Alford pleas are, I am entering a plea of guilt to save my ass from the worst consequences that await me. I didn't do this, but I can't afford to risk being convicted of what's coming down the road. In Alford, he was in North Carolina, and he was charged with murder. And Alford was a black guy. He was accused of murdering a white person. He pled out because if he had gone to trial, they were going to execute him if he got convicted. And this is like 1960 something in North Carolina. I think we can all agree he probably wasn't, his odds weren't very good. So he was up there. He's like, I'm pleading guilt. I'm doing this to save my ass. And the Supreme Court upheld it. All the courts in North Carolina tried to shoot it down, but that's an Alford plea. So, and that one's difficult because you're not always entitled to an Alford plea. Not every state does that, and it's not every state has that access to them. Who names their kid Alford? If it's his last name. That hold on. So hold on here. I need to bring it up. It is North Carolina versus Alford. It was Henry Alford. That's why. That's why he did it. So it's Henry Alford. It was not his first name. Ethan Ralph did an Alford plea. I don't think he did. So did Alfred get released or did he serve his time? Oh no, he was charged with first-degree murder. He was involved in a murder. And Alfred was like, I don't want to get fucking executed. So he pled out to second-degree murder. So he got 30 years in prison. Like that was his thing. So no, he it didn't go well for Alfred at the end of the day. So no, he pled out to avoid the death penalty. He did a Ralph Allure plea. Yeah, he did an Ethan Ralph plea. Otto says, so if you plead in North Carolina for a traffic violation, will you get points? I don't know. Speak to an attorney in North Carolina. I do not know the answer to that. It's the Cosby plea. Yes, I bought the roofies, but it was all consensual. Jello pudding, a good Kodak film. Let's see. It's an Alfred E. Newman plea. Yes. Dequarius Henry Alford. Oh. Otto is saying if I plead no contest for traffic violation, will you still get points? I mean, in Ohio, that doesn't change anything. Like if you're speeding and you plead no contest, yeah, you still get points. Like the points don't go away. You still assess points on your driver's license. Thank you, Kayla, if you fixed that for me. What about Central Minnesota? Oh, they don't care. They have the Farmer Labor Party. The Democrat Farmer Labor Party. So they're a bunch of fucking commies and faggots. Let's see here. What if your CDL says no name given? Well, that's a whole nother thing too. Yeah. Now, moving on from here, guys, we do have some other stuff to catch up to. Did I catch up to everything? Yes, I did. So since then, some other stuff has happened. And in this case, Mark Sanchez is being sued. And, there's no problem being sued civilly. You stab somebody, that's a pretty good reason to file a lawsuit against a guy. Pseudo-Snark says, wait, why plead no contest? There's no benefit. You never fucking plead guilty. If you don't have to. If you can plead no contest, always plead no contest. You never give it up for the government if you don't have to. It's always just better. It's always better. I don't care if it's a speeding ticket. I'm going to plead no contest. Never plead guilty. If you don't have to plead guilty, don't plead guilty. If there's a way not to, always take it. If you can do a no contest, always do a no contest, in my opinion. At least here in Ohio. That's the way we do it. If you can plea out, we do that. So, would pleading guilty look favorable to the court for getting a lesser sentence? Not if it's theoretically on some serious crimes, yes, but for speeding or some shit, no. If you did that here in Ohio, the courts I go into, every judge recognizes it's all part of the game. It's part of the game we play. We get a no contest. They feel like they're getting something good out of it. So it is what it is, Chad. It is what it is. Now, what's happened here? Well, Mark Sanchez and Fox Sports are being sued by Perry Toll. So this has been filed. It was filed on the 6th, and it's a complaint for damages and a jury demand. Now, does it need to be filed right now? No, there's a statute of limitations, and it's generally, you probably got at at minimum a year, probably like 2 years from the date it happens. But there's nothing wrong with filing it right now. So he's got his counsel, Eric J. May of Galitko and Daily PC, and they're filing a complaint against Mark Sanchez and Fox Corporation. And I'm sure that they see some dollar signs in their eyes. JD Buck is saying, why Fox Sports? Well, we'll get to that. So this court has jurisdiction over it because the complaint occurred in Indianapolis and Marion County, Indiana. Makes sense. The parties, Perry Toll is an individual from Indiana. Mark Sanchez is an individual upon information and belief, meaning we think, but we don't know for sure. And this is our way of avoiding any issues of being considered untruthful. Lives in California. Fox Corporation is a foreign corporation that is incorporated in the state of Delaware. That's the employer of Mark Sanchez. So Mark Sanchez at the time was an employee of Fox Corporation. He was traveling Indiana as part of his employment duties for Fox and was there to broadcast the game for the Colts and the Raiders on Sunday, October 5th. At all relevant times, Perry Toll was performing his duties as an employee of a company specializing in commercial cooking oil recycling and disposal. And then Sanchez, appearing intoxicated, instigated an altercation, claiming that Toll cannot be at the location and that defendant had spoken to a hotel manager. And they go through all this. Sanchez kept going in the truck without permission and blocked Toll from getting a cell phone. Sanchez blocked and shoved Toll, which he used pepper spray. And then eventually, Perry Toll got injured and suffered injuries to his head, jaw, and neck, which we saw those pictures, man. He got tore up. He got tore up pretty bad. He got tore up. And they say that approximately later on. And notice, they kind of copied and pasted shit out of the police reports and the complaints. So they talk about the claims. Count 1, assault/battery. Remember, it all depends on how you file things, and how things are done here. So they point out that he made harmful and intentionally and unlawfully made harmful and offensive contact with Perry Toll, causing serious bodily injury. As a direct and proximate result of the actions, Perry Toll suffered severe permanent disfigurement. And guys, remember looking at that guy's face, massive cuts on the side of his face, and all those injuries. Those are going to be disfiguring. Those are going to be seriously disfiguring. He got other physical injuries, his loss of function, and emotional distress. I mean, think about it. He's an old guy. It doesn't take much to cripple him. Then there's count 2, negligent hiring, retention, and supervision. So Fox owes a duty of care to ensure that its employees conduct themselves. Fox knew or should have known about Sanchez's unfitness as an employee, his propensity for drinking and or harmful conduct. Now, this gets to the idea that if they know Sanchez is a liability because he's got CTE or something, they should be making clear, we don't want you drinking on company like when you're working for us. And one of you guys said it best. Yes, this is all about hoping Fox cuts a check, and Fox could very well cut a check. Very well, they could cut a check here. They say despite this knowledge, they hired him as an employee, retained him as an employee, and failed to supervise him. Now, is this really a situation of respondeat superior, you're responsible for your employees like that? Yeah, maybe. I mean, remember, he's off the clock at this point. He's not in the stadium. He's not working. And how liable are they? So they're arguing that they breached their care of duty by letting this guy be a fucking lunatic. And yes, they failed to supervise, negligent hiring, and maybe there's discovery. They realized they might say, oh my God, Mark gets drunk. He's going to kill someone. And they knew and they didn't do anything about it. That would get them, but I doubt that's the case. So their prayer for relief is compensatory damages, punitive damages, costs and expense, and other relief the court deems just and proper. Signed by the guy, Eric May. And this is a demand for a trial by jury. And there's nothing wrong with this. And guys, some of this is also just now they got their name out there. Galitko and Daily, PC, 410 North Morton Street, Bloomington, Indiana. This is how you get your name out there. This is how you do stuff. So remember, sometimes these lawsuits are all about publishing. Yes, they're going to say Fox is not responsible for babysitting. I think so. I would agree. I don't think it's going to get anywhere, but I think they're going to hope Fox cuts a check and tells them just to go away. Which at that point, hey, money is money. This is one of those cases, though, where going after the employer's got the deepest pockets, yes. But this is a situation where the guy they're going after actually has money. Because think about it, if you're at work and you're walking down the street and the guy who works for like Stanley Steamer comes up and starts attacking you while he's on the clock and everything. Yeah, you could sue Stanley Steamer and they've got money, but let's say you also sue the guy who beat you up. The guy who's cleaning carpets ain't got no money. He's gonna be broke as a joke. He's got no assets you could save, and any assets he has are probably protected under your state's law. So Mark Sanchez is the unique exception here to that issue of, well, you can't get blood out of a stone. And you can get a lot of money out of Mark Sanchez. So did Fox fire him yet? They did. But at the time, he was still working for him. Yes, Stanley, Cleveland Steamer. Yes. Oh. Brad says, sue the pepper spray. It didn't work. Pepper spray is not always guaranteed to work. But also, it all depends what he did with it. I mean, when you keep a can of mace or anything, weapons, equipment, even talk about other equipment, guys, like this stuff here. These chest seals that I just bought. Like, you have to keep these, the warning is going to say, what's what the warning say for these? Proper disposal and treatment, or proper saving of these. Oh, actually, it doesn't have anything on. It's pretty strict, just directions on the back. But you can't leave these sit out. Like, if I put these on the dashboard of my car and they sit for a year there, these are going to be degraded. If they sit in the cold, they're going to be degraded. A can of mace, you can't just, you're ruining it. You're going to, you have to take care of it. Did that guy take care of it? Did it sit in his truck for 5 years? And it didn't work at that point. Maybe. Also, it doesn't necessarily take everyone out. It's like a taser. Tasers sometimes work. Sometimes the taser connects and zzz, and there's nothing that's going to happen. There's nothing that's going to happen. What's the expiration date on these? These should be pretty fucking new. Yeah. Expiration date is 3/31 of 2030. So these are good for about 5 years. These are good for about 5 years. It's in a salt form or freebase. Well, that too. But when you have pepper spray, you have to take care of it. It's like ammunition. You let it sit in the hot and cold, and it can get ruined. But also, Mark Sanchez just may have been just super aggro and was like, and wiped his face. It all depends. It all depends. I was going to make the joke about why certain types of men cry during sex, and it's because the mace is in their eyes. If you know, you know. But yes, tasers, lose their potency. Sometimes they just don't work. Sometimes the guy just doesn't respond. Sometimes the mace doesn't stop the guy. It's just very possible. It's very, very possible. Also, maybe he sprayed Mark Sanchez with pepper spray and he missed. Like it went right over his ear. So Fox definitely paid for his flight and his hotel. So would that be good enough to go after Fox? I would argue probably not. Because yeah, they paid for him to be there, but if you get paid to go to a convention for your company, you go to the convention and then later on you go to Margaritaville and you get so drunk that you pick a glass up and fucking smash it in a server's face. I mean, it's where the attenuation at that point. You're responsible for your employee. I mean, I could see it, but yeah. What if his tab was comped? I mean, you mean expense? You don't mean comped, you mean expensed. Did Fox pay for his meals? I mean, those might be things in Indiana. Once again, it's going to require an Indiana employment law analysis. It could theoretically be, but I think at the end of the day, this is still a stretch. Afton says, I'm horrified at the thought a company could be liable for behavior when they're off the clock. Well, here's the problem. If he's been paid and sent there and his employer tells him, go to this town and do this work on this date, and you're going to get there a day or two early, and you're doing your prep work for the show, because you hear these guys when they do these games, they say, oh, I talked to the quarterback the day before, or I talked to the lineman on Friday, and we heard about this, that, and the other. So he's kind of always working. But does this count? I don't know how this would work in Indiana. So but I think at this point there's probably there's a bit of attenuation there. Like, you can't, at some point you're kind of off on your own doing your own, like you and your employer, at some point you kind of disappear. Your employer's like, he's not going to chase after you. Was it a Fox Sports event? I don't think so. It doesn't sound like it. Maybe it could have been. It could have been. Who knows? We don't know yet. I doubt it. Yeah, he was going to call the Colts game. Yep. And Tim says it's in his contract. Yeah, but it all depends. Like, those are things that could be used against Fox. It all depends. Like, his contract's going to be part of the story, but they're also going to, it all depends on what the law in that state says. It all depends ultimately on how that's going to work in Indiana. JKD says, sue the bartender. Well, we don't know how that went. Remember, we don't know what Mark Sanchez did. Maybe he found a place where there was he was chugging a fifth of vodka walking down the street too. We don't know. Not enough evidence yet for us to know. Plot twist. He was at a furry convention. Oh no. Katie says, welcome to the world of handling workers' compensation claims. Yeah, because if I'm Perry Toll, guess what? I got hurt on the job. I'm filing a workers' comp claim. I was there greasing. My Chuck was doing the grease trap exchange, and some Mexican guy beat the shit out of me, and I had to stab him to stop. And ultimately, Afton, generally the answer is no, you're not liable for your employees after the clock, but there will be times it does happen. This very well could be one of them. Fox countersues for wrecking their coverage, yeah. You're suing the airline company who flew him to Indy. Okay, well, yeah, that's too far and too tenuous. For Mark's sake, he was drinking top shelf. Sucks it was 300 shots of Sex on the Beach. Yeah. Mark is a Mexican name, yes. Traditional Mexican name. Yes, and Katie is correct. Workers' comp would subrogate that against the liability settlement, meaning workers' comp would pay him, and then they would be able to recoup their loss because he doesn't get the double dip. Sue the knife manufacturer. What are they going to sue for? This guy's knife worked as intended. It cut, and it was sharp. It was stabbed into a guy, and are you going to say the Doug Marcaida thing? This did not kill. I mean, yeah. Was Perry sponsored by ESPN? No, but Mark Sanchez would have been sponsored. He was there for Fox. I wonder if workers' comp can also go after him for causing his injury. Well, I mean, like I said, any insurance payouts will go to that, and they fight over the money there. Diana says, sue the sidewalk. Well, you can laugh, but there are times where that may be appropriate. If the city owns a sidewalk, you might sue a city. If a private person owns that sidewalk, you might sue the private person. Natasha, you're saying, like, well, can they go after him for causing injury? Do you mean like sue him? No, but they go to the insurance settlement and they say, hey, we paid you $500,000. We get $500,000 out of that now. So I'll try it again. Sanchez will go to jail at quarterback and come out at tight end. Well, he's going to be a former tight end. He'll be a loose end. Sue heliocentrism. Well, yeah. Sue Ryan Adams too, just to cover your bases. Yeah. Well, So that's where we are, guys. There's not a whole lot to this. There's not a whole lot to this case yet. There's not a whole lot to it, but this is the wonderful world of getting ready to do shit. I think Mark Sanchez is in a lot of trouble, as he should be. You know, you're responsible for what happens when you start drinking, and if you can't control yourself, oh man. I was actually wondering if workers' comp would subrogate some of that. I mean, Katie's saying it. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they did. But that's where we are. So we're gonna have to really put a pin in this. But I'm sure a lot of evidence is gonna get leaked out by the police, but also the plaintiff's side of this. Oh, they're gonna leak all kinds of shit and win the PR battle. Why couldn't this have been Tony Romo? Don't say that. That's like Joe's best friend. That's like Joe Neerman's best friend, Tony Romo. You know, he's not Catholic, but I'm sure he lights a candle for Tony Romo. Katie says they will if there's third-party involvement. And I would think so, but once again, remember, every state's different. I just learned in Indiana, they don't have no contest, please. You'd like to think so, but every state does it a little differently. Portland Andy says they shut the road down in front of the ice facility. Ooh. Well, you know what, guys? It's only 10 o'clock tonight. We might do a model stream for about an hour here. So I'm going to go ahead and set that up, and we'll probably do that. Rex Start parody account says it's an OSHA violation. Yeah. Yes, OSHA violations. Come with me, and you'll be in a world. It's like the meme goes, in a world of OSHA violations. Which is hilarious. Having seen so many in my time, you're like, OSHA, never heard of her. That was always funny. I had a boss that worked. He'd be like, OSHA? I think I used to date her in college. I was like, is that OSHA approved? And he's like, what? What is that? So that was always funny when that stuff would happen. So, OSHA, JD Vance is like, no, that's OSHA. It's OSHA. So, oh my gosh, chat. All right, says, let me see here. Yes, we are going to be going to the model bench, chat. I'm setting that up right now. We're going to work on, I think we're going to work on the helicopter for a bit. We got to keep that going. Oh, come on. Stream. All right. Hold on, shit. Okay, we created that stream and it's now live. When you'll finally build a helicopter. That's so funny. Yes. Are you going to be late there too? Yes, just for you. But you guys can find the model bench over at this channel. Thank you. And hold on, can I switch this over so you guys can get there? I'll do that because I know some of you are like, well, I can't click link. Where do we go? Where do we go now? Wow. Why is this not loading? Why is this not working? Come on. There we go. All right, we're all set, chat. Yes, the Atlantic OSHA. Fun seeing you in the Dented Zone movie. Well, thank you, Gigatard. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun with that, and I will say, guys, the amount of work PPP and Worski put into that, like the parts of the script that I got sent, like these guys did a lot of fucking work. So make sure you show them some love over at the Keno Casino because this was a labor of love for them, but they were professional about it. Very, very, very good. So that is it for us tonight, chat. Like I said, we might try the Bianca Ellis trial. If not, we may look at Corey Richins. I'm not sure yet what we're looking at there. We might go over the Destiny stuff because there were 2 new filings, and Destiny thinks he's he got wins, but are they like earth-shattering wins? No, but they're wins still. But with that, chat, we are going to wrap this up for tonight, and just remember until the Kino Boys hit 50,000 subs on YouTube. Fuck, God, I wish I get. Nice we get to 30, chat. Or more importantly, let's get to 27,000. We're at 27,899. We're just hovering there at 26,700. 26,000. Hold on, how many are we at right now? 26,000. 902. We're almost at 27K, chat. We're almost at 27K. They have a YouTube channel. They have the Kino Casino clip channel. Yes, 26.9K. Yes. Worski confirmed gay after yesterday. Yeah. Hella says, who's Mark Sanchez? He was a pretty famous college football player and like a mediocre NFL quarterback. So, and now he does TV announcing for NFL games. Joe says, plea no contest means you can say you did it, but you're not guilty. That is correct. Just because I did it doesn't mean I'm guilty. Very clever. Very clever. Clever girl. Clever girl. All right, chat. With that said, we will wrap this up here. We're going to land the plane. I will see you guys over on the Model channel. And just remember the next time, just because you did it does not mean you're guilty. Although it really does sound like Mark Sanchez is pretty guilty. So he's got suffer. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens there, chat. Thank you guys all for being here. And I will see you shortly over on the other channel. Good night, chat. Take care.
Weapons, blacksmithing, and models of planes, esoteric works and...
Actually, yes, I forgot. This is actually probably tomorrow night we're going to cover the Kyron Lacey stuff. This is weird, guys. It sounds like he did it, then it sounds like he was framed, but then it looks like he wasn't framed. Like, there's all kinds of shit going on with the Kyron Lacey thing. He's the LSU guy. We cover this. He got into the car accident allegedly and killed himself. Afterwards, well, his attorney claims he was framed, and then the cops are like, "Nah, he did it." We're gonna look at everything tomorrow and figure that out. We're gonna look at everything figured out. I forgot about that. We are doing that tomorrow because it does sound like, from what I could see of Bianca Ellis, the trial is kind of scuffed. But anyways, we're gonna keep going. See you guys in a minute.
While drinking White Claws, tips on hunting, and even talking the law. Whatever you do, just don't talk to cops. Even when they nab you on illegal stops. Just 'cause you did it doesn't mean you're guilty. But please talk to a local attorney. Was that the fact